praises to Yahweh, or Hashem, or Hashem, or Rakah, for no one knows unto the apostles, the elders, from well, Shalom to the hopeful elect. Right, we're out here once again, prophesy the downfall, according to the man, we may be feeding to Here's to prophesy the downfall of this kingdom. That's it. Here's to prophesy the downfall of this kingdom according to the Bible. Alright, which prophesies of this place being known as Babylon the Great. Alright? Now Babylon the Great is a place named for great judgment. Right? The reason why it's made that statement is because Babylon in itself had a great judgment going back to the book of Genesis. Even when you go back to the Babylonian rulership under Cush, right, same thing, great judgment. Ryan was on the wall and it came to pass. But then now this kingdom we're in presently, it has an even greater judgment, right? That being known as the second death, right? The only thing it's comparable to is the time of Noah. We have the first death, okay? So we're to basically usher in the children of Israel to Zion, right? And at the same time, make it be known that everyone's going to receive this judgment. That until the time, basically they've been, especially the children of Israel, first of all, God to be with them. Starting with the children of Israel, all right, they basically, they've been, the two-thirds of the nation of Israel, the wicked and children of Israel, they've been made oblivious to the truth of the matter. And the only time they're going to basically receive that understanding is after nation of death by faith, right? So it's what we come out every week to speak upon, right? And we basically have to bear with all forms of folly, demons, and all these types of things. For what? For the proving, for to be an example to you, to basically build faith, build up faith, and do the same work, right? What's that? Yeah, 2 Peter 3. Start from verse 3. It says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming fulfilled? For since the fathers fell asleep, of all things continue as it were from the beginning of creation. Yeah, with this word, with this prophecy, and with us who've been teaching, this is something that's been done for decades now. Going back to our apostles, even then, like back to evidence and whatnot beforehand, it's been decades where this truth's been getting pushed out. And this is something that now we're in the midst of it coming to pass. Even then, people are still scoffing, people are still looking as if, everything's looking to you as it is. And really then, they're not thinking giving any regard to what's being said. Despite the fact the words are literally got up, speaking, holding a full conversation with them, you can see. It's like with the Corona, you've got Neuralink, like a key example. You've got multiple different companies basically moving into that space. And then World War III, what's going down between Ukraine and Russia? That's something that everyone clearly is able to analyze. Like, look, this could easily turn into World War III. Not to mention China and Taiwan, and then as well, Iran's been an issue since the fucking more recent issue since Obama was in office. When he tried to set up the nuclear deal, then Trump came in and threw it in the bin, and now we've got Biden's back in, and that he ain't really addressed the issue in any significant kind of way, but them guys are there, crafting them nukes, because why? For the sake of prophecy. The weak saying, I am strong. They're basically doing what? They're putting themselves on the same level as Esau, to where they have access to that ultimate weapon, right? That nuclear missile. For this, they willingly are ignorant of that by the word of the Most High, the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. So that's the first death. You know, why the nuclear destruction is called the second death? It's because what do you call it? The time of the flood and the time of Noah, that was the first death. So that says what? Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished, but the heavens and the earth, well, it says what? They're ignorant of it, and they really are. Far to them, they're just thinking these are old wives' tales. You know, these are just stories. There was something. There was a what do you call it? A study done that says that now in America the majority of people think only they. Yeah, well, it's like they said. 40 something, I think it was either maybe 40 something percent or maybe less, thought that the Bible was the word of God, and then the majority said it's just, you know, it's just stories that you're just meant to learn, written by men that you're meant to learn from. So they said now it's the first time in America that the majority don't believe basically the Bible is the word of God. So
I think it may be 20%.
Yeah, it might be a lot. Yeah,
because I think there's a greater percentage that don't believe it exists than it was some still hopeful.
Yeah,
and then a few that like they don't really know the other side.
Yeah, but I think it was, I can't remember, maybe 41% of people don't believe, and then the rest was just kind of understand. But yeah, it shows what the faith, as far as, you know, the scriptures, that's something that's been waning. But why? It's only for a select group of people. Really, it's only for the elect. That faith. Only really the elect is going to hold and hold on to the word, you know, and have faith that these things are going to come to pass. By and large, everyone else is out there. They're just what? They're in the same. They're in the spirit of basically Esau being their burden. They're in a modern society where all they're looking at is everything just like, oh well, you know, modern technology or you know whatever. They're just in the kind of space of, you know, we don't really know anything. They might want to hits the new ages. They're getting into the left hand side, but they ain't really messing with, you know, scripture. That's just what. For the heavens and earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. Yeah, this now is what the second death is with fire. So that's going to be what? Through, you know, it's not going to be for 40-degree temperatures, you know, in the UK. It's going to be thermal destruction. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, 1,000 years is one day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but it's long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So yeah, even with you know, the Lord basically waiting and, you know, holding up until the day that he's appointed, that's something that what this is being done. It's not because, you know, the Most High slack, basically because of what? It's bound by his own word. You know, the elect need to be sealed. You know, the prophecies as far as what the Qaragma, World War III, various different things need to be fulfilled before what? Jacob is the elect really can get brought into the kingdom. How shall I make a concern of these things? There's things that need to happen. And that's why it's like we're in the midst of them happening. So it should be plain, but it's only really plain to those who basically got the eyes to see and the ears to hear.
Because with Haggai, Habakkuk was exalted and really becoming that same spirit as well. He was told to what? Make it plain upon tables that the righteous may run and read there. So the one, and what it says tell you in the book of Revelation, blessed is he that readeth. So not everyone reads. And that's the point I was actually thinking about, you know, before we came up, about a lot of people going to heaven. I wanted Lord willing, the Spirit jumps on me, but I wanted to really go around the country and ask them, what do you know of the Bible? Because a lot of people have got like, hearsay, you know, the Bible, or they've read something out of context. And that's why the Bible tells you Revelation 1 and 6, that's the devil. But really, when you read it, you're going to have the head start. You're going to know a lot of things that people don't know. That's down to reading, that's down to the Lord reading Jesus. So open this book and read it. The Spirit has to do it when you understand.
They also, even with just reading, just in general, like that's not something that people tell you to stick. People don't do it. There's a lot of times where it's something like you might have plain English, or if you know how it works scenario or something. You might have something written down somewhere in plain English. Someone will come in and look all around, like you might know what they're reading. Then they'll ask you the same questions or answer back. So it's like, just in general, that kind of culture is of ignorance. People are really, especially after, you know, the advent of the mobile phone, people aren't really looking or getting into things on a deep level despite what gives them access to. So I remember when smartphones first came out, people said, what? You got the internet, you got access to all kinds of things at the tips of your fingers. You can have dictionary in here, you can have all kinds of encyclopedic knowledge, you can learn about history, you can learn about a wide variety of things with ease. I've listened, even on the way I was into a podcast going into like the time the Roman Republic ended and then the Empire started. I was like, man, it's like you can find all kinds of shit that's kind of there, but what, by and large, most people they're interested to follow. They'll be dealing with social media. 99.9% of people when on the phone, they're just dealing with social media, memes, jokes, whatever, drama. They're not getting the news is something, you know, it's a gift to them. If it's not involved in the meme, you know, it's dead to them. Okay.
That's why King Solomon said, body is set in great dignity. That's really what it is. Being a clown is dignified.
Well, yeah, it's I mentioned it a few times. But you go into medieval times, it's like being a court jester. That's, you know, that wasn't no form of esteem. That's what, you know, entertainers, comedians, actors and whatnot, you know, being in a form of theatre or in you know, being a court jester, these things weren't esteemed like you're on some super level. Those are things that were, you know, entertainment. You weren't revered as a pinnacle of society. Now that's what people are looking up to as the most honorable, someone who can, you know, they might have a good singing voice and a good ghostwriter. And then people are going to be like, oh, this most amazing thing. You know, same thing with, you know, being able to act, being able to pretend to be other people. That's one of the things furthest from being, you know, something that's a reptile. Because they're not like, they even being like, they even know if they're being themselves.
Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington, basically, he actually said, that they asked him in an interview, what do you do? He said, let's be real. I'm just grown up that gets to dress up at the same time. You know, like a childish film of acting. Where you think childish film. But that's what it is. Acting is like modeling. Modeling is the same thing. You are modeling role for people of a high echelon to play. One of my favorite quotes I always keep in mind, or you know what, saying I keep in mind is basically a lot of people can't buy what they sell. You have a lot of people, especially with social media, obviously with social media, a lot of people sell themselves a certain type of way, but they saw someone else selling it, they wouldn't be able to afford it, right? Now even in life in general, you have a lot of people, I'll take you to another example, go to a store like Harrods, department store, yeah, but of a higher standard. A lot of the people that work there, their wage can cover half the shit they're selling. And that makes society at its whole. A lot of people can't buy what they're selling, right? And this is Ecclesiastes 10 and 5, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceeded from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place, I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and he that breaketh an edge, a serpent shall bite him. Whosoever removeth stone shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. And that's basically it, man. The world we're living in right now, fully in sin and great dignity. Everything's been flipped, turned on its head. That's why I saw a clip actually. This woman with a white performing in the Hamptons. Now this guy's worth multi-millionaire. But if you see the way he was performing, as they say, you look at him and you think, bro, you look like a joke, just not. Because he's in the Hamptons, man. This is, the eclectic class of, nobility in America. North America. So they all sit there enjoying themselves with their boat streets, come up and park their yacht, chill in the Hamptons for an event, wife them, giving them a show, they're vibing, they're wearing it, they're 18 watching, they're rich and little, having a good time. He looks similar, but he's not just wearing a linen shirt, a silk shirt, he's got a man sometimes. Guess what ways actually garnering that wealth by doing what? Putting on a show, getting a crown. So that's what's esteemed. That's why he looks like people. Going back to the age group, he looks just like a king. And unless he really had a great skill that had it set in place for his guy from nation to nation. But for the most part, hell no, man.
So 2 Peter 3 and 10 says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So yeah, we're dealing with mass destruction, the legendary scale of destruction. That's what the Lord mentioned now. When you go back to the flood, not only 8 souls survived, but it shook them off. And more are going to survive, the destruction. But even then, it's complete.
Why they survive was more than the majority of people that survive or they may get killed afterwards when the blood comes down from the clouds.
But hey, that's to see it.
Point you read before what is that? Yeah, like when you got to the first step, you have to time to Noah. Basically, Noah was saying, what's the rain? No one believed it, so they saw the moon that came through. And they said, man, why is it going to rain? And I'm sure one day they saw the clouds, and that would have been a monumental act. Mind you, as I told you, Job, the Jews, sorry, that Enoch that basically speaking of the Lord coming with 1,000 kings, he would have been speaking as if it was clouds. So when they saw it, it would have been like buckets, like, when they saw the green clouds, thunder rolling, like you can see the lightning, they're like, what the earth is going to begin to rain? But not rain like, power. The heavens will open up on there may have been even tornadoes in the midst, man. Water spouts, whirlwinds, even when people, they call it whirl hurricanes, whirlpools. When the water risen up, sucking people in, the waves would have been tumultuous. If you were by the seaside, it would have been a real, great event. But, a lot of people read it now, they don't really put no imagination. We're talking about the first step. First great death to wipe away all wickedness from the earth. And it told you in the book of Isaiah, that the Lord doesn't signs of hell, I find, he does things with great signs of wonders. Oh, he's speaking in temples. I'll put you through that.
Isaiah 66:15.
I'll read this. Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh of hosts with thunder and with earthquake, with great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And that's the second bit. Only thing on the sun.
That's the thing. That's the prophets. Really, the vast majority of them, that's what it's saying. The time of the end. Because there's multiple, you can go through different books of multiple times where they're going into what details of how this place is going to be its end. And it's like, now is the time where the fullness of it is basically, able to be built back. We're in a time where you can analyze things as well, the RFI, what shit, we can say Russia, America, nuclear, missile. These are the things that we can now say where in the scriptures before, we wouldn't have, they wouldn't have had the means or the understanding of what's really going down. It's like, you take something in the time of when, men were moving, still moving in chariots, bows and arrows, swords, armor, bucklers, and shields. And then, you show them a nuke, how they going to even break it down? The atmospheric re-entry.
That's why I said low, Isaiah 34. Arrow coming down in a new. That describes the things that it will happen. That's what made it represent generation.
Yeah, Sean, what thing is a stroke?
Yeah. But the cloud shall pass in the stroke.
Much from the cloud. Because otherwise, what was the, what's way conceptual?
They would have had the laggers back then. If you wanted to attain any form of wisdom, records, anything was done to the house of scrolls.
So it says, Isaiah 66:15, for behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire, by sword, will the Lord Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord Yahweh shall be many. Yeah? So it's by sword, by fire. That's how, it's going to plead with all flesh. And even Job, I believe, when it says a glittering sword. A weapon, basically a weapon that's been formed for the sole purpose of ending Esau. And the joke is, Esau is the one by whom it was developed. Isaiah 4:16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. Yeah, so the Lord was the one who set the scientists up with the inspiration to what? To craft the atomic energy, then the nuclear energy and the nuclear armaments and whatnot. For what? The sake of now. That's why it's something that what? As far as weaponry goes, them nuclear missiles, that's the highest form of destruction. That's the highest form of power capabilities you can have access to. And that's what everyone's been chasing after. And that's such what? That's something where spirit's healing to be on that level. And that's why, as it is now, with thingy, what's his face? Like, North Korea doing their nuclear weapon test. And as well, just with Russia being Russia, they know that as far as nukes go, their stockpile, the US's stockpile, those are like the two greatest. So if they clash and it goes nuclear, then you're going to have unprecedented levels of destruction going down. And that lines up with what the prophecy. Destruction, yeah.
Mad. And it is a mad time to be in.
Even we had last week, we had an individual basically that
No, he's the one that really made me think about two things about prophecy, being a main defining factor, and also like shit. Basically, just he couldn't. It's like when we explained prophecy, he couldn't really say nothing against it. Because he could see how it could pan out that way. Because really, it's like we're really in a time where everything doesn't make sense, right? But when the prophecies get established, that's when everything's going to make, all the sense in the world, basically. But as it stands right now, it doesn't make too much sense.
yeah, as it stands, people can still go on, live their lives. They're it's not an unavoidable reality. But that's something that's gonna be around because to the end. I'm gonna bring back to 24, but just a movie example of not 20, what the fuck is it called? Children of Men. Children of Men. An excellent example. The one had the concentration camps where it was like people get deported, and once they're in there, it's like the Wild West. That's a fucking bombed out hellscape. But then when it was like central London, the guy in his apartment, his cousin or his whatever,
He was a politician, an MP or something.
yeah, he was there, going inside, scrumptious little piece to have on the side, and then he had a nice apartment, he had a great view, in London. Obviously, South East grabbing people up in central London, but it was like by and large still operating as far as like nothing changed.
And that's the way this day as well, man. There's people dying by droves. Even right now, they're still saying COVID kind of crazy, man. With the monkeypox and everything. But the book of Jeremiah 15 also brought 39 of them. Death, the means of death, whoever is appointed, they're going to die in that fashion. But then the same thing, it says, that's why I read it earlier, the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night. Because the world is going to be operating in such a normal circumstance to a lot of people, they're not going to realize the wherewithal to even, detach themselves from, wait, hold on, this is going on over there, that's going on over there, they're going to see it. It's one of them things where if you want to ignore it, it's going to be
the Iraq War. It's like when the Iraq War started, there were just like you have the guys down at Westminster that were protesting it every day it was on. Other people they would have just been living their lives. Like you might see it on the news every now and then, but otherwise you can pretend that shit's not happening. You don't even have to watch it. We watch my wife and kids, we watch Fresh Prince. There's some sitcoms on. We watch One-on-One.
the only bus of East End.
Really?
Coronation. Good days.
That's it. It's two days. I don't really have any kind of they mean shit.
Yeah.
And then what? Until you find out what the war's over, or blah blah blah. Or until maybe you have a relative where they get the fucking headline.
Yeah.
And then out there, and then you realize, wow, war's happening. Because that's just like with Ukraine. Now everyone now is saying, who gives a fuck about Ukraine? Just shit about a goddamn fucking Ukraine. But there was a story I saw. Some woman said, there was a woman who was like, oh wow, she found out her son was able. He gonna wipe it out. But I think he got kidnapped.
Yes!
I can't remember. He's either a Russian prisoner or he's just fucking done in. she was like, she was in tears, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the hell do you expect? It's a fucking war zone, man. It's like when you fuck, like when initially when it reported like you know the ghosts of the
Just a bit boring.
that nonsense, that BS. You know, when they reported on that, it's like people getting fucking wiped out, man. You know, there was stadiums getting blown up, there were schools, there was hospitals. There's always brothers a hellscape, it's a war zone. Like I don't know what like people that are not completely disconnected from it, they don't realise what that entails. I mean hundreds of thousands of people I've been getting fucking whipped for the last few months. That's on a daily basis.
It's the Western world is kind of going back to children remember 28 weeks later when they established the bubble and everyone can live up the zombie on the outside. This is basically that. Got a more take it down version. Because outside of the Western world, the first world, did I say it right? The first world, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of the
Yeah, the first one.
The first world. There's hell going on, man. I actually spoke to an individual I used to work with. He told me he went to, during the 90s, he had the war, there was an uprising in Liberia or something like that, he said it went down. And he basically said there was a normal town, then there was a town over a couple miles away, where everyone knew they eat. And he said he saw a guy get his heart while he was alive. So can you imagine living a couple miles away from cannabis? That's the ancient world. That's the reality. That's the world. They show you that in the book, The Movie, where you had a side place in Morton, with Henry Cavill, where they, the character versus this game, and you had the king hygiene. They basically said, oh, we're not scared of them until they scar their faces. There was people around that did things that was like outlandish, but you had to deal with it. You know what I mean? Or else you suffer their action. That was the reality.
Yeah, now it's the age when people can sit down, have a chat over tea and crumpets.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to build the world. That's what I was fucking listening to the original,
That's
I was like, they were really in that time thinking, as soon as the fucking war went down in Berlin, once that Berlin wall went down, these niggas thought all peace on the earth had been attained. Then they saw the Soviet Union crumble. Then they were like, we done it, guys, we saved it.
But that was great for morality, because that shows you that adversity as well brings out the best. Because you didn't have that resistance to basically keep the people on their toes. Go back to the movie Watchmen. You basically had the rally was done one of two ways. Was either the sun or Acer. You'll be required to be mindful of everything that's going on and be ready for whatever could happen. Or you just give it to you succumb to your vice. Be like, fuck this shit, I can't deal with it no more. Give me a ball. You know what I mean? So that's what you basically. But then now, it's to the point where people actually believe I can say I'm a cat, I can say I'm a dog, man can say it's a woman. And there's a guy that did the documentary, where he juxtaposed shit. He said, what is a woman? And he's going around asking her, and I was great. He said it to her one time. Posted it. And he basically, the guy went up to her and he's trying to get her. Saying to him, what are you trying to cancel? Serious? Yeah, fucking hell. What was it's too crazy, man. Yeah, whatever. That's why I figured, But basically, he basically said like, basically the guy, I don't know how they got to the point, but the guy said to him like, okay, what if, the guy said, T person basically you can't tell what a woman, you can't tell a person they're a woman. You can't tell a woman she's a woman. He said, okay, then how do we determine?
What do you know? What's the how do you categorize it?
Yeah, and then he said he got the guy. He said I can't remember how it went. I was watching last night when I was working, so I can't even my memory didn't really stay there. But basically, the guy had to leave. You know, the T person had to make get for the win. He disappeared because his whole positioning was compromised. And really, this is the world we live in because the level of comfort is offered volume to take greater heights than ever before.
Matthew 24.
I think it's a bit cooler with the tide island. I can feel the pull from somewhere in the program. That demon was blazing in that shit, you know. When I first got that, I said, nah, it's bigger than demon. He said, yeah, you can go in that water. They meant to disintegrate in the pieces, right? This guy was just there getting rejuvenated. He started glowing and shit.
I was like,
It's a big deal, man.
No
Then he stood up on the pillar over there.
Yeah, I was like, when he was up there, I was like, this guy bugged
Yeah,
out.
it's a head story. Because I think the way he's saying, I'm thinking, nah, this guy's a demon, man. He wants man to, you know, like you would say something, then you say something. I'm like, how the fuck do you know to say something like that? Like, it's a demon, man. Intelligent. Demon means intelligence. It's bigger than demon.
And Matthew 24, 7, no 6, 24 and 36. But the day and hour knoweth no man, no not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. For as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and did not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Yeah, that's really going to be how it is with Yahushua's return. It's quite it's like now, people are doing everything in their power to not have to deal with any hardship. Essentially, with the Western world, you created a kind of bubble that's been separated from how the natural system of how you sustain yourself on the planet Earth. People have been cut off from it. So, there's people, there was a video that went viral, either last week or this week, about some girl saying her life, she was like 22, she said her life working, a day in the life of working at LinkedIn. It was basically like her just going for a work day. And then if you, the activity she was getting up to, was insanity. She said, oh, your work day, from it starts before 7 and it ends just before midnight. So what happened was, she wakes up at 7. She wakes up at 7, she goes into work, then she gets a hot towel with eucalyptus and a glass of water with oranges in it. And then she's like, you have a glass of orange water and a eucalyptus towel. And then she goes in and then she's like, everything, and it's just like the level of comfort that she had. It's like every bit of the office was plush, the sofas and whatnot. When she would sit down and do work, she sat down to work 1 or 2 hours in. They said take a quick mental health break, in the relaxing room, go over here, have a snack, and then her lunch would be some elaborate, high quality. They had breakfast out there, like London breakfast, bowls of breakfast out there. Just, high quality, blah, 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 avocado, toast, and whatnot. And it's just like, you're watching it, you're like, this is just level of comfort that I didn't even know existed on the planet Earth. Yeah. And the thing is, as far as them, that's just normal. They're just work, you shouldn't expect to go into work and have, a nice hot breakfast waiting for you. Spend 20 minutes putting your feet up, get the massage, a hot eucalyptus towel to wipe off the dirt of having to travel in, And then, afterwards, after she finished work, she went out braving for She went out raving for like fucking 3 or 4 hours. That's how she said she went to a house party. Then after she went to a house party, so okay, we're going to the club. Then went from one club that was closed, we're going to the next club. I was like, this is too much bliss. How are you having that much fun? But that's the thing. Is there's levels to how much even people are able to live to experience life in the West, and it's all disconnected from where it comes from.
And really is based upon sucking the resources.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna go. With the like they know where the origin of all the foods come from. They don't know what what fields or whatever. Then you go back to ancient world, you would have had people that grow and have different things. They might grow certain greens. They might grow certain vegetables. They might have vineyards. They might, they might raise, they might raise cows. They might raise goats. They might raise chicken. They might raise sheep. They're gonna have different ordinances, different offices of things they do. You might have the guy that, the carpenter. You have the smith. You have the guy you go when, okay, you got this put together. You might need certain tools to take it and fix. You're basically gonna be interacting with all the different layers of how it gets to you. You're gonna eat. But you're gonna know, okay, you went to the market, it's gonna be the servant of the guy who grows these or grows those or whatever. He's there selling stuff. But then nowadays it's just, Tesco. Man, there's actually some bugged out people that are like, oh, why do you have to kill animals? Why don't you just get meat from the Costco's, man? Why don't you just get meat from the store instead of killing animals? Yeah, that's how bugged out they are. Actually, they're so disconnected. They're not had to interact with any kind of level of how the things get there. Yeah, they're just thinking like, oh, they're just meat just comes in packets, in Tesco. But that and that disconnection, that's gonna be to their due. Because as far as it's like then the level of survival skills. That's why I remember what's his name, that guy's channel, the primitive building maybe. The guy who's just out in the sticks, and he'll just like make a house, he'll make like a bed, he'll make basic tools and whatnot. Just from the resources you find out. So that level, that whole entire like trade or whatnot of those skills are all dead. And there will come a time when they might be needed. There was a fucking power cut somewhere. Oh, fucking Macron. Macron said in France they're turning off lights, street lamps at night to save electricity, save gas. And I was like, oh, so that, because of the shortage,
the cameras ain't gonna be on no use then.
Yeah,
unless they got night vision.
But then that's the thing is you have now an energy crisis. If electricity goes out, there was the viral clip of Kevin Samuels asking a woman, oh, where would you if the power cut out and you had to get water, what would you do? She said, oh, I'll go to the sea, boil the seawater, and then she would have drunk it from there. But that's
steam of the water. But then where would you can actually find I've always in my mind how this is funny. This is why I'm going to my point. As soon as you said that, in my mind, what I saw is a pot. All you need is like
some kind of flat surface.
yeah. You know what? All you need is like what's it called? Like say you have like you have like a sheet with a circle, but then you make it like a rooftop, like a cone, top of a cone. And then you stick it on top, and then the steam will go up, and then that will go down, and then underneath you have like a catching. But that's as soon as you said that comes to my mind. And this is the point. Men are visual people. You know what I mean? Like as soon as steam of the water, what invention can I make that makes my life easy? And then guess what? With that vision, we have the ability, the skill to I need this. How am I going to do this? Maybe I'll grab a stone, I'll grab a little piece, a part of the food, I'll hang it to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas women don't have that ability.
They don't. That's not how they're they're built. They're more about kind of optimizing the household things, like things that are there.
You give them a house,
okay, maybe I won't kind of like okay, we're gonna cut, minimize this, maximize it, whatever. That's how their kind of vision for those things works. It's two completely different skill sets.
But that could be utilized together. But you you need to choose between the one or the other, it's got to be the man.
Yeah, because otherwise, you know. But that's the thing with well, even okay, we read a bit more. Now wait. So, but as verse 37, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Yeah, so basically, what continuous life as is. Eating and drinking, marrying, giving in marriage. Those same things happen on marriage over there. Yeah. And that's why it's prime time for marriage, man. Anyone having a marriage this week, they're thinking they're having the time of their lives, man. They've got the sun out, they've got, you know, the great rich weather, blah, blah, blah. They're thinking like they're on top of the world. The other thing I was going to say is as far as the Hajj, I remember back in the day there was a YouTube channel. The guy who did like tutorials and random things. He was like, he went out into the sticks and then was like, okay, let me just try and survive with bare bones basics. And there was like, he found like a river, kind of fishing. There's only able to get a really small fish. And then what boil river, it's like river water. Flows, so as long as it flows, and then, you know, boil it and drink it, the river has its own filtration system, then it's like even, you know, there's various levels of work. It was like trying to, you know, put together some form of shelter, you know, sticks and leaves and whatnot. Start a fire as well, like a flint. There's a wide variety of ways you kind of get by. Summer's one thing, but if it's winter, or autumn, even or spring, when it gets a little chilly, that's a whole different animal. And most people just be caught out there, and they'll be dead in 3 days. They'll be dehydrated, they might be eating something poisonous, they might have been fucking assaulted by some form of animal. They, you know, most people ain't really built with skill sets. But we're coming to a time where those things are going to be needed.
And a lot of people can't even carry themselves for a couple of miles, man. And we're talking walking. Not even jogging. A lot of people can't walk a certain distance.
Yeah,
a lot of people can't carry their body weight over the ledge of a cliff. Like they can't carry themselves up a tree. A lot of skills that really, if you play, you know, you used to play out in the kids, climbing trees, climbing fences, climbing generators, climbing stuff you shouldn't be climbing.
it's like fucking
In it.
walk in and they just walk it in there and play with sticks and shit like a lunatic.
Walking for like under
For hours, like 7 hours, you're running around. That's the thing as well. It's like, like a lot of capabilities they're really meant to have. Because otherwise, it's just, you know, it's kind of.
That's why you have that energy in your youth. That really establishes it. It's like it builds up muscle memory. So as you grow older, in order for you to keep some level of the same, it tells you the proverb that young man pronounced for youth, strength for the old man for wisdom. But you have that, right? There's another great poem that you say. But that's why even like bike riding. Like, I always notice this because of the areas, when you're in the inner cities, you see the more wealthier folk, they wear like bloody helmets, helmets, guards and all this type of shit. And it's like, why would you ride it? Like some of them always think like, why on earth would you wear that shit? But then the reason why I think like that is because the way we've been cultivated our youth, that isn't really a thing that's still really do that. But then they may have stuff like life insurance, different things like that. But more to it, that's what I was going to say. I saw that other player zooming up, then he jumped over there. I was like, shit, I used to do that when I was like 10 years old and shit. I ain't done that in years, I don't do that anymore. But that's because you've had a certain cultivation in your youth that you don't feel any way to do it. But that's more to the point of this generation that we're in, everything is in a bubble, right? The reality, a lot of people have not utilized their bodies to their full potential because there's no requirements. And I'm not saying it's E-man, right, or mighty man. It's more just that when shit hits the fan, right? It's gonna really show who's who, right? A lot of people are gonna kill over and die. Like you have the parable in Luke 16. We had the accountant or what I can't remember what it was. The guy that basically said like, master came and said, give account this money, this account. He said, what should I do? I can't work this. I can't do that. One the main thing was half ago. He said he can't labor, it's too weak. So you have to use money. You have to basically, utilize market resources to the benefit of other people. Maybe people benefit down the line.
First Timothy 4:8, for bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, and having a promise of life that now is, and of that which is to come. So exercise, bodily exercise profitable little. There's still profit to it. And that's the thing as well. It's like now we're in a time where, maintaining your body any kind of way, that's not a focus. Most people are overweight. And even the people that aren't overweight, they don't do any kind of activity. They're lethargic. They'll basically, they might have a job where they just sit in a seat all day. That's, the most they do. It's like, especially with drivers, there'll be people where they don't even drive. They don't even walk. So like a store that opens like 5 more walk. They'll be happy to drive it. So, lifestyle-wise, most people just they don't really know how to maintain that. As well as even with diet as well. Most people, they're doing all kinds of abominations. So
it's an error. Right. It's an error that comes from king. Right? It's by design because the pharmaceutical business, the pharmaceutical industry, they basically thrive on people being ill. So they don't tell you, even you could, this society, they uphold civilization started with the Greeks. Right now, when you go to the Greeks, the thing known as the philosophers, right? The sages. They were basically the people that gave great wisdom and counsel to the people that ruled in the time. Alexander the Great, as they call him, right? Everyone renowned, right? Put the Edomites on. He basically was an understudy of not Seneca, Aristotle. There's a picture because it shows Aristotle being black. Because I have Aristotle one of them, I can't remember. But basically, he learned underneath the sages of Greece, right? Who really were Israelites, right? Which Israel made Greece great, right? But the point being is that one of the quotes that you go back to the philosophers was, make food thy medicine, and medicine thy food. It's like to that point, showing you that there's healing benefits to food. Right? Food ain't just something you just throw on your plate. That's what you have today. That's why you have people eat anything. That's why when the government says no meat in your beef lasagna, people don't buy either. Because they don't understand that food is this, right? To your benefit. If you eat shit, you're gonna end up being like shit. But that serves to a greater benefit to all the people. Right?
Matthew 24, 38. As in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And do not until the flood came and took them away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken, the other left. Two women shall be grinding mill, and one shall be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that the goodman of the house hath known in what watch the thief will come. He would have watched and would not suffer his house to be broken up. Yeah, so it's with And that's the thing as well. In the moment, people are gonna be all kinds of regret, like, why didn't I? But I could have if I knew. That's why you have, that's why you have concepts of like round the day or edge of tomorrow. You have a guy kind of go back in time and have the chance to fix his mistakes. Yeah, that's something that's like they said all the time. If you could ask a question, if you could turn back time and blah blah blah, change something or fix something, would you do it? Most people say yes. Because people are, they're caught up in the mindset where they're stuck thinking about missed opportunities and blah blah blah. That's a story trope. You have a guy where he's like, I could have done something wrong in my life. I could have, then opportunity arrived, to basically follow up on something he gave up before. These kinds of things, these stories, people write them because that vibes with people. That's how people tend to feel. But that's the thing with, the way people plan, they're not really able to concept of things, in the future and go inside them. They'll kind of do things in the moment and think like, there's a term like, future, we can worry about that. I'm fucking up future means Monday right now. And stuff like that. People will say to me, live in the moment. Because as far as they're looking at like they're not really consequences be down. But in reality, that's as far as the way that exists on this planet works. Those things are going to come back to bite you in the ass. Because if you think you're like, I'm just going to be able to live my life, blah blah blah. In reality, it's not going to be, how it runs. And that's going to the overarching judgment as well. Because
yeah. I want to subscribe to the blessing of Esau. So this is the book of Genesis 27 and 29. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. By thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob. That's the point, right? And basically Esau had to rule by way of the sword, right? He wants to clap it to the earth. That's what he's got right now. It's time for blessing and enjoying. But it's muddy in murky waters. Because when you're surrounded by blessings, how are you able to see when the end is inside? And really, would you want to see it when the end is inside?
Most people ignorance is bliss. Most people really ain't out there trying to think about the reality of the future. Isaiah 39, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord Jehovah, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. So that's really the spirit, and also applies to Jacob, applies to the world as whole, because people in the mindset of what? They just want to hear good news, man. That's why some people will not keep up the news. Then you also find only bad things happen. Like, you lived on the planet Earth, bro. Like, the vast majority of the things that happen on the Earth have been bad things. Like, but for one person to see the good things, I mean, someone on the other hand is seeing a bad thing, bad thing most times. But that's what people don't really want to do. They want to be able to have to go through and just kind of deal with life. Do what they're doing. But in reality, that's just not how things function. Because you can move like that. But that's, it's not aligning with reality. And that's why it's like, in reality, hospitals, like all that yakking on social media, it's not doing anything. Because people are still getting blown up. And that's the thing. It's like even with what's it called? The West Bank with so-called Palestine and State of Israel. That whole situation, that's just been going on for the longest. That's just been going on since like the 40s. Where that's been an issue. That's been a contention. But then what? It's you know, all the so-called solutions, that's just been thrown in the bin. That's how it's with a lot of things. Most situations are just kind of fucked all around. Like in the UK, you know, you have people coming to central London, enjoying themselves, blah blah blah, and then there'll be fucking crackheads on every corner, man. There'll be homeless people everywhere. Man said like, I remember when Harry and what's that place, man, married. They said, oh, in Windsor, like outside where the marriage is happening, there's some homeless guy in a fucking bus stop. How's that straight? Because as far as for the vast majority of people, they're not having a good time all around Earth, man. That's just the reality of how things are now. You got something?
This guy that's you saw a blessing. You have a lot of drink now, that's why they sold out. They want to give them, like I was saying to you earlier, like, thanks, you always, up here, I'm sure you probably see it, man. You can see that everywhere. You see, Jacob and Esau, man. They're all trying to escape the entrapment of these persons. It's there.
Yeah, man.
Proverbs 3:31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. For the forward is an abomination to the Lord Yahweh, but his secret with the righteous. And his secret is only what? Prophecy. Where do you find prophecy, right? I think it's Amos, the 3rd chapter, the 3rd verse. Surely the Most High will do nothing, but he revealeth the secret unto his servants, the prophets. Basic words of greatest secret, the kingdom of heaven. The time we're living in, that this is the end of it, right? And what's coming next? It's basically some sci-fi action hero type shit, superhero type shit, right? But that's a secret. That's something that only, even if it be told, unless the Lord imparts that secret of faith with you, you're really gonna know it as well. But a lot of people can't see it, so that's why what you say. Chapter, 4th chapter, where it says, them being not mixed with faith, the words ain't profitable. So when they hear these things, I'm going to rob and steal, basically get my peg up in society.
They're basically thinking about carnal satisfaction.
Yeah.
Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice, and when the wicked bear of rule, the people mourn. Simple and plain as to why, you know, people ain't fucking happy, man. There's like what is that? Happiness index or whatever. They kind of measure like the general happiness level of people. Those things have been going down more and more every year. Because why? Imagine it's like from 20, like people, the way they look back at like 2019. Bro, that shit was like, they you know, they think about like, they didn't know how good they had it. And they really didn't.
What year?
2019. It's like how the way shit was, it's kind of, you look back at what people were doing, it's kind of wild, like, man really worked out.
That was really the peak of this society kind of thing now. Because going forward, you know, people may dispute that. Going forward, it's on a downward, it's a race to the bottom, basically. But right now, hey, the big wigs, we're in a decade of change, right? Going back to when you had pandemic setting, a lot of people, they weren't paying attention to the little hints the elites of society were letting out. One of the things being that we're basically part of Agenda 2030, right? Whereas from 2020 to 2030, we're going to see great changes in society, whereby they want to have a cashless society, have people more on the grid, all right? Have less body, I'm going to butcher this word,
Autonomy.
It's one of those words hard to pronounce. But basically,
What the fuck was that? Just a straight green line. Step in front of the car. Take it off. Someone's frying their brains.
but that's the point. The point is what we're in the midst of right now is, hey, it's over. It's a wrap, right? And only few people can see that. Let me read this. Book of Sirach 10 and 1, it says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. Now, if you look at it right now, we're in the midst of a shitstorm of politics, man. And this is by design. We're dealing with what's known today as, there was that song by these guys, man, I forgot, cult of personalities, right? We're in the midst of cult of personalities. And this is by design, because the people that actually are behind the curtain, they want to keep a buffer between you and them. They've seen throughout the course of history where, you know, kings always fall and they always have a target that anyone can get to. So they've decided to basically step behind that and give you fake rulers, basically, puppets, right? Cults of personality. That's why you have Boris Johnson. What's the big thing he's known for? Or what's one of the big markers of his personality? His crazy hair, his messy hair. Donald Trump, he's been tangled in his crazy hair as well.
Yeah, but he's a reality TV star.
Basically, yeah. Then you have all these rulers, all these politicians that come into place. They all have some kind of thing that you look at and you know, you're taken for. But that's to keep the minds of the people away from the reality of the situation. Now that's to the point of what I read about a wise ruler will instruct his people. Right? And it's the thing, most of the people are not being instructed. Right? They don't even understand that the best thing you can do is have instruction from a wise leader. Why is that? Because they lack unto their master. As we're going to read, it says in verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all that dwell therein. So guess what? Like you have Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, man, you have all these different politicians. You have the people within the society. They're basically, they also come out like this, right? Just as stupid as you see the leaders are, people that buy into it, they're just as stupid as them as well, right? That's why they can't see past the rule of politics. They don't see that this is all a joke. The joke's on them, right?
Yeah. The way politics has gone in like the last 10,
you gotta go back hundreds of years, man.
Well,
you gotta go back to like Washington, I wouldn't say church.
yeah.
But go on, say your point.
Well, if you go to like comparing to like, before when what's his name, Bush was in office, Bush Jr., George W. Bush, he was like during that time, it was like politics wasn't as
I know what you mean.
it wasn't pushed to such an extreme to where people would, you know, so if you say certain opinions, people are going to be looking to see that into the street, you know, to throw you off the Empire State.
But yeah, Ronald Reagan was president prior to that, man. Fucking acting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I know what you're saying, but it's like,
Even Clinton was fucking, that was a legend.
yeah.
But it's, well, I'm saying recently, with the recent,
I definitely agree. Recent history is getting more balmy, man. It's getting
well, I ain't even talking about that. I'm just talking about the extremes of what people believe. As only recently
Oh, yeah.
started hitting that level. Because now it's like when people get into politics, it's not even to just kind of be like, oh, well, you know, I want X, Y, Z policies. You know, it's basically you've got to be pushing for the most extreme forms of beliefs, or people aren't going to be you know, paying attention. which is why it's gone from like, you know, where at one point it might have been like, oh, you know, we're gonna have, you know, student loans covered, to now it's, you know, just full on socialism, saving the other direction as well. It's basically people have become more entrenched. Then it's like where you could have kind of discussed things before, now you can't even discuss, just like you mentioned certain things. As well with the LGBT agenda, especially the T, you start mentioning certain things about it, it's going to get completely swept all through the social media. Whereas before, it's like, even if you go to before, so Alex Jones, before he was on Twitter, he was on YouTube, he was all over the place. Now he got fucking banned off everything. So it's like now they've kind of made it where you're only allowed to have certain discussions. Hey, if you're discussing on that level, then you know you get pushed out. So it's basically just made it so what only wackiest, craziest shit can push. And it's like, you know, people disagree, it's like, what's going on? Fuck happened? They'll start going in the other direction. And why? It makes people easier to manipulate. Because why? It's like when people are kind of paying attention and thinking, like, okay, you know, and the question really is, who bono, man? Who benefits? Because who does benefit from a lot of the way politics is going? That's why it's like, even with Joe Biden, the whole thing, the way they justified it was, well, you know, if you don't want Donald Trump to come back in, then vote for Joe Biden. It don't even matter what Biden's going to do. No one even cared what Biden. He could have been saying, I'm going to take the kids, I'm going to sacrifice them and eat their feet. And then, you know, and he would have still going on because they were just like, but anything's better than Trump. You know, that's how wacky it is. And that's the mindset of the people. They're just like, now it's like people celebrating that Boris is gone. I was like, bro, if you look at the candidates and who's left, like, who do you even think there is to so-called lead the country? But that's how you know, people are simple. They're just kind of gonna, you know, they'll do as their, you know, as the media tells them. Oh yeah. So I was gonna read this. So Proverbs 6 and 12. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh through his mouth. He winketh with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet. He teacheth with his fingers. So as far as that's the thing, it's the biggest job, the whole game of politics. It's an inside job, man. These guys behind closed doors, they're playing roles. As far as with the agenda, going from Bush to Obeezy, from Obeezy to Trump to Joe Biden, it's been the same agenda, man. They've been pushing more or less towards what NWO. They're talking about the thingy, what do you call it? The portable microchip. You know, as far as with war, you know, people said like, oh, Joe Biden finally Obama was meant to pull out of fucking Afghanistan in 2000. The guy in 2007 was talking about pulling out of Afghanistan, pulling out whatever. And then by the time he left office, he sent more troops in. These men are just completely into this criminality, man. But people are stupid as hell. But why? Really, it's about the agenda they're all part of. They're all part of the movement inside it, where they're pushing towards the same goal at the end. They'll scream at each other in the Senate House or on TV interviews or whatever. But then behind closed doors, they're pushing towards the same goal. That's what you had. I remember when Obeezy came in, you had like him and George W. Bush shaking hands, chumming it up. Same for when Trump came in. Because what? It's basically what? They're all in the same club together. In the UK over here, it's what, you know, the guy, all these different politicians, all these different leaders, they went to Eton, they went to the various universities, Cambridge, Oxford, whatever. They graduated in the same year. and then they'll be linking each other up. Once they finish their political career, then they'll move into some business where they're making all kinds of money. Then what? The guys they're friends with is now the new chancellor to give them tax breaks and overhead. It's all looked in. So as if frowardness is in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. So it's a matter of these guys are all part of these different secret societies. They're all in the dark. What was it? What's it? Psalm 64 and 1 says, "Well, hear my voice, O Most High, and my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." That's the thing. When we're contending against isn't just it's not us out here shouting in people's faces. It's what? It's a spiritual war. It's something that's been carried out in the spirit. Where it's what? Tension between the left hand side and the right hand side. Where you have Esau. He's established. He's set up. He's the one that has the rule. Job 9:24. The earth's been given into his hands, and he's trying to basically have that run forever. Then obviously, those are the righteous. God willing to be in those numbers. Those are the elect. They're the ones that are going to be out contending against Esau, against everything he's trying to establish, until the end, till Yahushua makes his return. So Ephesians 6:12 says, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." So that's what we're contending against. That spiritual wickedness in high places. They've got, their secret places like the Masonic Lodge. You got the whole up there. And then as well, they've got all kinds of different spots in and around London. It's like London. I remember the news article where they said there was like judges, police officers, lawyers, whatnot, different businessmen getting together to have orgies in different parts of London, like around Marble Arch. They said there's one. There's all kinds of priors up and down one of the court get together and start doing that's the thing, is that shit gets down. Like it's these things are not, it's just hidden from the lower level people, man. I remember one guy I know, he became a cop like maybe within like a year of him working. Like, yeah, so hell of these guys are Freemasons. That's it. Them guys, a lot of them will get brought in, man. You can watch, it's like, especially entertainers, police, lawyers, those within different institutions. I'm thinking as well, probably big banks, not, international banks or banks based in London, they'll have people that would be among that number, just in there, and then these guys will know that they'll get together and meet up on whatever days they meet up. But then outside of it, they might not really talk about it. And that's the thing. That's something that's been going on for long. Because even I remember they did a documentary, I think the BBC one, which would have been like 80s or 90s, just from like the picture quality. I think it's still on YouTube in London. And then they'll talk about, judges, police superintendents, and blah, blah, blah. Everyone's all the tucker. So, it's that spiritual wickedness in high places. That's something that's been there. It's only really started coming out quite recently. Because now it's a thing where, you mentioned the Illuminati, you mentioned the Freemasons. Everyone will know, right now, the 1890s, the Illuminati, term existed. That wasn't something that was really used. Everyone really thinking about that. And now on the rise,
Yeah, it wasn't like,
it wasn't powers. Yeah. But it's not like good pressure. Like, it's
everyone, you see a TV show,
yeah. That's like, it's every all forms of culture, that, it's everywhere. They'll kind of use it as, it's kind of a joke. But it won't. Hey, that shows, but then that's them, like playing sight as well. But yeah, what about the thing that's kind of down, so, blah, blah, blah. And then, meanwhile, you have like, the Bilderberg meetings, you have the G8, you have all kinds of summits where these elites get together. And then what? What are they talking about? Making policy for how the world can operate. But, average, where are the average people getting invited in? Kind of saying, have a seat, speak for, for the chat. But they ain't. Because no one gives a fuck about them, what they have to say. Because that's not what it's about. So back in Psalm 64, it says, verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot the arrows, even a bit worse. Yeah, whet their tongue like a sword, bend their bows to shoot arrows. They're what bit worse. It's why a big part of how they control really the minds of the people in narrative is through these different agendas they push out. It's really what's influencing the minds of the people. But that's something that's been a great topic of study as far as how people's minds work, why they decide certain things, why don't follow certain instructions, why don't not follow certain instructions, how they react to certain interactions and whatnot. These are things that deep studies have been done on for the hell of time to kind of get, understanding, right? There's all kinds of different experiments that are being done to try and work out why and how, people decide things, how the human mind works. Because that's something that Esau has a great interest in. And there's a great desire as well to have them, to have, control over the minds of people. It says what, that they may shoot in secret at the purpose. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Yeah, they're about shooting at the purpose. They're called as these tribes, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, were the Israelites according to the Bible. That's why. They're the brother went into the blessing. They're the ones who have received the blessing. Of what? The rulership of the earth. Esau received, substitute blessing. They're trying to basically lock in. That's something good.
And the blessing was basically the blessing was royal or right, right, basically the blessing hung upon the fact that they'd have to utilize a sword against Israel to establish that power. With that sword shall that serve that prophet. Because why? As the prophet mentioned, we had the more superior blessing, whereas he had the inferior. But for that inferior basically take effect, they'd have to utilize some pressure the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient grey hairs of the age. Thou strengthen the law of justice. For that which is evil is found with nothing worth. Therefore let us lie wait for the just and the righteous, because he is not for our turn. He is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objected to our infamy, the transgressing of our education. He professes to have the knowledge of the Most High. He calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our faults. He is grievous unto us, even to the Lord. For his life is not like other men. His ways are of our fashion. We are esteemed by the rabbi. Deuteronomy 6. Verse 15, he is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's, his ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits, he abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. 64 or 46. About, we esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaining from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that the Most High is his Father. Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end. That's on many levels, because on one level, it's like they're jealous. They want to see, okay, let's see if that's really true. But on another level, they were made to actually be, to do that, right? Basically, I'm being taught, basically, that's the balance. Like everything, allows righteousness to be established. You might as well read the point you have. Deuteronomy 4 and 6. Keep therefore do them. Verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord Yahweh my power commanded me, that you should do so in the land which you go to possess it. Keep therefore do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, worth the Most High so nigh unto them, as the Lord Yahweh our power is in all things to call upon him. It's no thing to call upon him for. Yeah. With what you call it? Like the law, that's basically that covenant is the core of what separates Israel, makes us a holy nation unto the Most High. That's something that all the heathen, they don't have access to. It's even it's like Esau wants having taken it upon himself. Same with the back in the time of Samaritans. Yeah, the heathens do as well. But in what this is, when we count it, it's only to that line, through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, where the promises were made. So everyone outside of it, hey, they're gonna, they're gonna conquer. And that's really that's part of why there's envy from the heathen. Because as far as for them, they see, look, these guys are able to have a level of majesty, a level of glory. They don't have to why? They don't have the movement. That's why why I brought it up, because you got into the sequel.
And the lesson, isn't it?
Yeah, the blessing. But we have the blessing. But then Esau said, yeah, okay, I see you got the blessing. But let's see if it's really true. You know, he understands that, these people, they come through the way, they curse us out, they make us prove our fault. Okay then, that's how you made it. And let's see if it's all the way true. The very thing that you're saying about you having a heavenly father with your power, let's wear you out, see if, you know, how far that power really goes. You know? But that's why it said, Esau said it within that, what I read, wasn't a symbol, that basically said our end to be righteous, to be blessed, and our end to be evil. That's only what you missed in all of that. Your end is going to be evil. So if you try and prove yourself right now, and think that you're going to bring it into Jacob, Israel, you're greatly deceived. Still reading Psalm 64.
Yeah, I got it. Psalm 64. Psalm 64 and 5 says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish with diligent search, both the inward form of every one of them and the heart is evil. That's the other thing as well. Esau has these wicked desires, but it's not even like he's going about it in a simple way. He's, like I said, he's been given wisdom. He's able to go into and indulge into various depths, you know, to basically go through and okay, together a plan to achieve his aims. And that's something that he's definitely going about doing. Because as far as it's like with what he's done, he's schemed spectacularly against Israel. You know, he's able to just even like that's why it's like things like the Willie Lynch level. Esau, you know, spectacularly managed to deconstruct and destroy the family unit of Israel. Man took it to a spectacular level where you start to look at it, damn, that guy went ham. Because it's like he's destroyed it to a he made a self-perpetuating cycle where you know the black woman has become the slave master to break the the family unit. So yeah, it's the way he's gone for scripture. Zechariah 1 and 15, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Yeah, that's with the heathen. It's just, hey, Jacob needs to get judged, so the Lord had to go down. Where Jacob got the punishment, but then what happened? Esau took it above and beyond where he needed to go. Took it to a level where it didn't need to be, because he made it work. Something new, something that hadn't happened before. Where what? Where Jake, he took it to a level where what? Where Jake weren't, didn't even know who they were. They're just taking on some new identity. These guys are now they're just blacks. You know, they've gone from being Israelites. And then, underneath that banner of, black, then what? Nothing but confusion and destruction. Because as far as that's something where, the root of it goes back to what? To just being a slave. So that's like, as far as their minds are, they're just they're bound, in their mind, tied to that, to having been a slave in America. And really just, they're trying to prove some, like it's the mindset you have is, you're just a black slave amongst the identity. And then you're going to do, no, I'm going to try and prove that I'm not, or whatever. It's, everything you're trying to aspire to is still bound, back to that root. Whereas if you're like in the mindset of, okay, I'm an Israelite, then you're basically going to look, first of all, you're going to have a breakdown to understand why the things that happened the way they did. And then as well, it's, what do you call it? It's going to be a thing where you kind of have examples to then base yourself on of a higher caliber than, than these black, so-called black icons. You have righteous men in the scriptures to mold yourself after. You have the ultimate example, Yahweh Shai. The full understanding of okay, so that's what's going down. As it is now, it's if you just take some black icons, you're going to be trying to be one, like a Jay-Z, a Kanye, or say, they say Martin Luther King, you believe in tolerance and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa, what do you achieve? Yeah, bro. Talking, one other Jake I was talking to, this guy said he was went to some woman's house. She just had like a little, what's the brand called? The guys who used to do jam or whatever. Robinson jam? Yeah. Just had like a little square piece of paper, Robinson's jam, with a bunny bug in it. I was like, you know what, bro? I was like, this shit is like, bro, it's a rip, like, the shit. Them guys are really, ain't letting it go. There's all kind of myth of, now, when it's progressive time, everyone's, racism's a thing of the past. I'm like, bro, Jake is, as far as how the people feel towards Jake, that shit ain't done shit. It's just hidden. They just, they just can't be out or claim it clear. This shit's still there. And that's why it's like, really, as far as if you're Jake, you should really be thinking about why you're trying to establish yourself or build up something within this society. This place is not for you. Your side. So back in Psalm 64, it says what? Verse 7, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, and suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. Who that see them shall flee away. Yet their own tongue is going to fall on themselves. As far as the people, what is this Moses? He fulfilled his own lifestyle. That's why it's like, even with his own crimes, he's the one who's being exposed. And then this is the thing: when you look at what God is to do to escape from it, to try and think like, okay, well, this time, we're trying to correct everything, we've changed, we're not doing things the same way we used to, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, okay, so, what have you, does that balance out the things that you've done? Because it don't even make no sense. Like, bro, if you weigh, giving a few jobs to some blacks, one or two blacks that you versus, a whole nation getting nabbed, the bulk of the nation getting nabbed, off where they were, put in hardcore bondage for hundreds of years, how's that meant to balance out the scale? They don't really mean shit. And that's the thing is anyway. It says what? We offer me a recompense. Hey, what recompense do you really offer? No recompense. That's why all that's been built, which was what? It was built off the core of that was Jake being brought up in their culture and used as that free labor force. There's a wide variety of industries that know of that. The payback needs, the check needs to be paid. And it's not even a matter of for us. This is the Yahweh Shem Yahushua.
To the Heavenly Father. Surname does after him. So really, it's a dishonor unto him, more so unto us. Touch not the apple of my eye. Do my service go on. Right? The Psalms goes, I don't know if I merged That's how the Heavenly Father goes.
Jeremiah 51 and 5 says, "For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power, and the Lord Jehovah of hosts through their land was filled, no, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, deliver every man his soul, be not cut off in her iniquity. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time the Lord Jehovah's vengeance, who will render unto her recompense." So that's the thing, is the term of that recompense is not going to be by Esau's time. Esau ain't even looking to pay reparations. He's doing a thing where it's like, okay, he's gonna he's not even looking to, he's doing a thing where it's like, okay, well, we've changed these laws, now in society allows you X, Y, Z, we gave you, we put you in a few movies, put you in a few TV shows, and now you're meant to be happy. But the simplicity of it is that you're not the one who's balancing out the scale. You see how much basically decided, how you're going to be judged, and that the terms have been set. You trying to it's like when what's his name, Darth Vader said that I'm changing the terms of our agreement. No, I think Lando comes up to him and says, like, change the terms of our agreement. And he says, pray I don't change it further. It's a hard line still. Darth Vader was voiced by the Jake. But that's how it is with the Most High. The Most High is like, hey, he's setting the terms of the agreement, man. He's sort of come to them, why? But nah, the terms have done been set. The nuclear destruction, as far as the prophecies went out, it was already made clear, evidence clear, how Esau's end was going to be. Now he's trying to fumble, trying to play with it. But,
and that same spirit that you have has always been known in the folly of wickedness. Going back to the time of the garden, you had Cain knew what he had to do, but he chose to do what he wanted to do. He had during the time of Esau as well. He knew he got grew up in a certain type of way. He got told, don't mess with no Canaanites, but go on to our kings. Basically, what did he choose to do? Nah, I'm not gonna fuck with the Syrians, I'm gonna go with the Canaan. So that shows you that Esau, no matter what, that's why the people of Psalms said, he wasn't rebelling. It said that, like, why did you take on the word of the Most High, seeing that,
you cast it behind you.
Yeah, fair, but I'm just saying, like, my people all the time. Yeah, that's the wrong.
It's like, that's definitely what Esau's cast it behind you. And every turn. Anything, you can just look at the one of society, hasn't been established. The law of scriptures is not being observed in any way. So, to continue, so verse 8 says what? Oh wait, no. Verse 7 says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations are drunken of a wine, therefore the nations are mad. Yeah, the nations are drunken of a wine, so everyone's all bugged out.
Yeah, they're all bugged out. That's why you have, even with the onset of globalization, basically, the internet is basically broken down the barrier. Now everyone's combining to Americanization, Westernization. So that's why you have a lot of people taking on the culture, the image of the beast, basically. The things that are spoken in the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter. And ultimately, which is going to lead up to taking the corruption, being the mark. So everyone, that's why things like Instagram, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Basically think in images, right? What's your, inside of your brain, what's it called? Your imagination. Things operate within the imagination of your mind, right? The images of your mind. Right? That's how you relay your eyes, relay what's going on within the world, and then your brain can then enact upon it. That's why you have the leaders in the society. They work on predictive programming, propaganda, all these things. And the main selling factor is imagery. So with all of this, you know, Instagram, for example, Twitter, all these different forms of social media, they're basically allowing the world in its masses to buy into the idea of what's trying to some mind. And I'm lost in explaining myself at this point. Westernization, the nation of drums and all wine, yeah. That's why all these going to be to their attention. And that's why the Lord has to come back and set things in order. To take the crowns off of them when it's heaven. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Save her and let us go, every one into his own country. Yeah, so it would have felt like the fall of Babylon crumbling. Now this brother mentioned sort of downwards ascent. Everything is decaying and being destroyed. As far as even a lot of the different things that the West established, now you got other like different even nations where they're doing it in a superior fashion. It's like what we call like American cars, American motorcycles, and whatnot. Remember, it's like they said, Harley Davidson. A few years back, it had to get bailed out by the US just because it was like an American, I say a few years ago, 80s or something, because it was like a staple brand. Like as far as even like the UK as well, like making cars, it's dead out, man. They don't even like do car production. I remember I had my work experience at one of the Ford factories, and even then it was like, bro, it was like a ghost town. Because they said it's like at the time they were still making parts. They were just making parts. I remember they had the last Ford KA that they made in the station inside the entrance. Like everyone was sitting on it. I think I've signed it as well. It's like me and one other guy. They didn't do shit with us, but they said it. So that's what it's like. Trains on, yeah, I am a big one, man, KB. Yeah, because it was like that shit that he used to have. So I was just on there, I was just browsing the internet. But it was like that shit's a lot of those industries, they died. And it's funny because the globalization killed them. Because they were like, oh, we can just have the man do it in India, do it in China, do it in Taiwan. And then we pay like a fraction of the price. That's why it's like, I remember it's like, I was looking at one of my hard drives on my PC. It said made in Thailand. It's like most PC hard drives made in Thailand. I remember when there was a flood over there, a tsunami, years back, it was like the price of them skyrocketed. And it's the same with like what chips, like Taiwan having the premium, like development-wise, making most of the chips using the most advanced like systems. But then it's like what the only thing really, and even with like Silicon Valley having like certain forms of certain technological development, even with like social media, the biggest one now is TikTok, which is Chinese. So it's like a lot of things basically are happening. The shine that the US America used to be the front runners, Britain as well, and it's like a lot of that stuff basically got taken by different nations. And a lot, it's funny because watching that change, a lot of people don't realize that done. They're actually know what they were built on. They don't have the same level of pull in the world in geopolitics places. Yeah, because like there is nothing to G. Like this is it's all smoke and mirrors right now. It's all like smoke and mirrors by way of banking. You know, inflation, adjusting this, taking from there.
That position in
The other thing as well is with
what you call it, Britain and America, they import a lot of talent as well.
yeah.
Because like most people, that's a big part of why the industry is so slow. Because even like Silicon Valley, there's like people, there's guys in India, there's a lot of it, there's like millions of people, let's say there's thousands of graduates that will come out of India. They'll have like amazing degrees or whatever these guys, they wouldn't be able to work there or whatever. But their money they can make in India versus how much they can make if they were to, if they go to the US, they go to the UK, is magnitude higher. So they'll go there, and then that's kind of how they're still maintaining, the focus. But then still within those areas, not everyone can leave. That's why you have like South Korea, China, Japan as well. It's like what Samsung. Samsung is legendary. Remember HTC, I watched a video about the HTC. Remember at one point the HTC was the Android phone. Those were on top of the game. As well, there's a bunch of little Chinese brands that kind of make phones. And then technology-wise, Japan as well, Sony and whatnot. There's a variety of different fields. When the US or the UK, they used to go on trips. Now they're looking slack. Because even an iPhone was pinnacle at one point, since like iPhone 6, maybe even a 5, I think the 4 was the last one when, what the fuck's his name? Steve Jobs is still alive. And then since then, it's kind of been before. Yeah, I think that was the last one.
That's actually my favorite iPhone.
Yeah, no, that's it. For me as well. That's what they even re-released it as an SE. Because why? It's still like design-wise, it's like the same. Like it's
glass plastic.
I don't remember. Probably not. It's probably now.
That was the main thing that was like the pet peeve. But it looked nice. Embarrassed and everything. That's the thing. It's like, it's just something. Like, no, your child's birth, man. Health man. That's not me. Man. Fuck, man. But no, the iPhone 4, that's like the one phone I'm always like, I wouldn't mind still having.
Now for real, it's like,
They fucked up the whole way.
You get used to like the size of the screen and stuff. You go back, the shit will be tiny as hell. Yeah. But it's kind of like design-wise, it's like that's where they get their peak. And then afterwards, it's kind of like they really had a leap like that on that same kind of level. And that's like a lot of things. With, it's like even basically, yeah, it's just, I think they just took the design like modern iOS, like the same shape. It's like a cheaper version for like people that don't want to pay for like the flagship. But that's in various arenas. Monetarily, they have, I think they said the euro overtook the dollar. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, the euro was slightly,
barely like over, which for the first time ever. So it's like the dollar is weakening hella. That's the thing. All these things work. Sign. Babylon stuff.
It's kind of like when the pound was £2 to the dollar, good thing.
Yeah, I remember when you go on eBay and buy it.
That's when
Then
it
you
started.
made half price.
I'll be going on like all the American sites. But they don't let you go on those sites no more. I was ordering there like basketball trainers, all that type of thing. Like kids,
best time. And now it's what Pound's done as well because of Brexit. So it's like put it together, waning. Read it again.
You saying that now, like, yeah, I want to buy an iPhone SE. I want to buy like an iPhone.
I was gonna buy it.
Yeah, they got it out. That was hard.
It's like they kill everything. I remember I used to have an Android and I got touch. Then it's like you get the battery fixed to that. On both stores. Yeah, it's whereas the spirit came off them. Because I'm like, even with Samsung, I'm getting more from Samsung. And it's like Samsung cameras were killing iPhone cameras for fucking years.
That's why they had to replace the iPhone algorithm. That's like a Samsung camera. Like anyone that's got an iPhone, you see something like Samsung uses Android. The reason why is because the algorithm, they fucked it up. Because they wanted people to buy an iPhone. So that's the way they're going to build that up.
Support America.
Yes.
Okay, I read what it says. It says, well, Babylon, verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her to take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone to his own country. So yeah, it's like what? We would have healed Babylon. It's not healed. It's basically like whatever means they're trying to take to navigate and make it so America can get back to that prime spot. They ain't come to pass. You know, all these arenas, the thing with the dollar now, that really shows. Because as far as there was a point in time when the dollar was mighty as hell. Now it's like the euro's catching up. And I'm like, is Europe's economy even doing that well to be catching up?
Or even like dealing with music as well, like the spirits coming up from America, music too.
Yeah, there's people taking what like you know they're basically doing American music.
Like even right now, it's like Burna Boy is putting on bloody the Negro national anthem right now. He's had like 2 back to back. Where's he come from? Technically Nigeria, but he was by way of UK. You had Wizkid as well. Who else you had? You had even like Moses, Ed Sheeran, Adele. Where you America ain't introducing no. They ain't got no one like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. They ain't got those people. So it's like Adele was like the nigga balance singer right now. That's the Patti LaBelle of the generation.
Actually was. Adele was just kind of there on her once.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know
even
I know like, some brothers may say
Florence as well. She's got talent.
I mean, yeah, but Adele is. And Sheeran is
she's British as well.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying it like in the sense of like the game. Yeah, the game is like there's no like when I look at it like Judah had it before. He like straight hands down like 90s, 80s, 60s, 50s. It's like now I can't really say no one like a household. Yeah. Prince, MJ, all them like there ain't no one else who's doing it like that. Even like the biggest rapper right now, Drake, he's Canadian. He's a Judah, but he's a Judah by way of Canada. So it just shows you the spirit being taken off in many different ways.
So fucking American rap, like,
wait. It's like a cult following type of artists now. Cult to like outright superstars, like independent. Yeah. Kendrick Lamar, you know, he kind of like really Drake.
That's on that kind of a level, yeah.
It's funny because I'm going from Kodak Black Stage, and I've said this before. I don't know if I said it there, but I think it's Big Stepper and whatever the album was called, Big Mr. Whatever, and the Big Stepper. But basically, the reason why them two go for these talks is because even Kodak said on the thing, said it was good to do an album like he was broke. We were both talking about faith. And even the whole album is basically like dramatization. It's like a show. Basically, the big step was Kodak, Mr. Biggie. So the two of them, that whole album is like them talking about but there ain't no real talent out there that's in the nation. That's really like spirit come over. Yeah, yours and music being more low.
Really, because it's like even for what does that mean? Women. It's like you got Beyonce is the only one really out here. It's like what she can do. That's more of a kind of cultural icon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're more moving to like. I'm saying this present generation, we don't have no one that's making that way to go to that place. Even if like
Cardi B or
Nicki Minaj and stuff. Like even I realized she's done out. You know why? I went on because of the wireless thing. I'm like, fucking hell. Like the way they were talking about wireless. I'm like, man, like they're like, you don't want to come over here. Yeah, like, and it's like, they look like they're not survive. And I was like, that's crazy because when I was coming up, that's the way I used to look at America. But now I don't really look at them like that. I look at it more like, yeah, it's kind of more, like, it's kind of more over there, it's kind of more military, it's kind of more, there's lots going on, you know? And, not sick, but comparatively, because America has, like, everything's over there, the money, the riches, everything. You know, there's a lot going on out there. But it's just more like, I don't know how to word it, man, but that's the point, really.
Well, compared to how it was, it's like
yeah.
TV shows, music, fashion, every strata. America was on top, like it was undisputed. Whatever's going on in America, people see on TV that they're copying it. Miami Vice, all these things, hella different things. Where the arrows defined by what's going on in the States. Especially what Jake was doing in the States. That's a big part of what really made live was what? Jake being that man.
That's why even like, that's why I'm like, Burna Boy, this guy, I didn't even realize. So I was speaking to, you know, told me he's in the Bronx. He said, oh yeah, when he was there, he was like, trying to, he didn't even know. He didn't even know he's fucking like, he was actually speaking like information. Because even on his thing, one interview I watched, he said, yeah, it was when I was in London, it was embarrassing. In Nigeria, I was like, I don't know about nigga. I don't know where you grew up, nigga. Like,
well, you know, it was
you.
It was always, it was always, you know, the West Coast versus.
But no, certain people just was embarrassed. Like, are you embarrassed? I was. I was wrestling it. Like, I'm from here.
Now for us,
like, I know I hear that because I was watching a reach comic book. I was like, I don't know where you grew up. Like, you weren't repping the thing like that.
yeah.
Because a lot of people I know weren't like that. It's like, man was saying, I'm on nice, like, man was representing. But the point being is that, yeah, this guy is just from local ends. This guy got everyone feeling something.
It's kind of funny, because that's what I was even heard. It's like anyone that was like, even like Skepta, like, managed lots of guys, man. A lot of like, oh yeah,